Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we are discussing the post-COVID-19 arrangements coming sort of more into view, more into focus as we're sort of trudging through the backstretch of the lockdowns here in Thailand, and as we're sort of speculating about what post-COVID-19 immigration is going to look like here in Thailand. A recent article came to my attention from The Nation, that's nationthailand.com. Article is titled, Thailand Prepares for Discreet Reopening of Tourism Industry. And this one, I did another video where I talk about this in detail, where they're talking about travel bubble arrangements. I urge those who are watching this video, if you're interested, to check out that video. But to quote this line directly, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha recently instructed the Tourism and Sports Ministry to prepare for bilateral negotiations on travel bubble arrangements. So I find this rather interesting. In another video we made, we discussed travel bubble arrangements specifically. And again, this is all a little bit fuzzy, but it's coming into more clear focus as the days are going on here. Basically, this is a bilateral arrangement between countries that have gotten the COVID-19 issue, quote unquote, under control or more under control, and where those nationals will be able to presumably go between Thailand and that other country and not need to deal with quarantine measures when traveling to and from both jurisdictions, or at least for our purposes, won't need to deal with quarantine when entering Thailand. I don't know, it's difficult to speculate what the home country or receiving country that receives that person after they leave Thailand is going to do, but this seems to be designed to expedite or forestall the need to put someone in quarantine when they come into Thailand. And it seems to be being discussed on a bilateral basis. Well, immediately when I read this, the first thing that came to my mind was, what about visa exemption stamps? And for those who are unaware, Thai visa exemption stamps are created, generally speaking, in a bilateral framework between another country and the Kingdom of Thailand. And Thailand basically grants a visa exemption. It does not require the foreign national from that country or from that jurisdiction to need to have a visa to arrive in Thailand, or for that matter, to get on a conveyance to bring them to Thailand, more importantly in some cases. So again, like for example, someone with a US passport, if they just get on a plane and come to Thailand, they generally speaking, prior to COVID-19, would be admitted with a 30-day stamp. The UK is the same way. My understanding is Australia, New Zealand, similarly, most EU countries, all come into Thailand and get a 30-day stamp. Well, these, generally speaking, exist sort of on a bilateral plane, and they are conferred based on the nationality where that person hails from, or that person's passport nationality, I should say. So what does this mean? Well, this talk of travel bubbles and that they are going to be reassessing bilateral travel on a bilateral basis, I think it at least raises the question, or I think we could at least infer that there's a possibility that at least for the immediately foreseeable future, following the lifting of COVID-19 travel restrictions into Thailand, that we could see an overall situation where these 30-day exemption stamps that were issued as a matter of course prior to COVID-19 and the lockdown associated therewith, maybe these aren't going to be issued, at least for the immediate aftermath of this lockdown. Maybe these aren't going to be issued in such a routine manner as they were in the past. Again, that remains to be seen, but I think it's definitely something to bear in mind when folks are analyzing what their future steps may need to be in the aftermath of the COVID-19 lockdown and in the aftermath of the current visa amnesty, also called the automatic visa extension, associated with COVID-19 in order to keep people in status here in Thailand, notwithstanding the fact that they may have otherwise fallen into overstay due to an inability to leave Thailand and return to their home country.